Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink, it is time for some PathOfExile discussion. Patch 3.22 in many ways is the best league ever to play around with the Eternity Shroud, if that's a build that interests you. There's two main reasons for this. Firstly, Omen of Fortune exists in the game and allows a way to deterministically chance, shape or influence versions of some specific unique items. You can't use this for every specific unique, but it's a really good option. But for everything else, there's Tainted Mythic Orbs. This video is going to showcase footage that I recorded a couple of weeks ago when I took Tainted Mythic Orbs to 25 Shaper influenced 2-stone rings. Now these are the Cold and Lightning version 2-stone rings, which have two different uniques on them. In tier 3 unique rarity is Call of the Brotherhood, and in tier 4 is one of the Berrics rings. Note that these unique rarities have changed over time. It is definitely the case that in patch 3.14, Call of the Brotherhood was a tier 2 rarity unique, so it has become much more common since then. Now you'll notice that my Tainted Mythic Orbs mostly result in destroying the item or in getting the Berrics ring, but we do get one single Call of the Brotherhood from it. What I'm going to do from here is I'm also going to do this experiment on a larger scale. I've sourced all of the components necessary to do this same craft you're going to see here on 8 times larger a scale. When that is ready, I'll put a link to the raw footage down in the description below, which will probably be an unlisted video on YouTube. The only way you'll be able to find it is if you've got the link. I'll also put together a summary of the findings. How many Call of the Brotherhood do I get from using 200 Mythic Orbs on these particular items? And what can we learn from that about the way that Tainted Mythic Orbs work under the hood? Anyways, let's jump into the footage of the 25 now. May your Val Orbs and your Tainted Mythic Orbs have interesting results. We're going to be attempting to use Tainted Mythic Orbs, one of the most pure RNG items in the game, but they actually have the odds in a reasonable state at the moment. These have about a 50-50 chance of turning an item into a unique item or destroying it if there is a unique item that is very common on that base. If there are no common unique items, then it does tend to be quite a bit rarer to get a unique item, but obviously the unique items that you do get are going to be something that's a little bit more valuable potentially. Now, we're not just going to be throwing these on any old item. Instead, we're going to be specially preparing items that have a potential to be extraordinarily good for someone. What we're going to do is attempt to make a Shaper-influenced Call of the Brotherhood, and you can see here that I have picked up 25 bases through a lot of painful trading. All of these are Shaper-influenced Cold and Lightning. There is nothing else special about these. I paid 10 Chaos or less for each of these. Most of them were a little bit less than that, but I was willing to pay up to 10C. First step we're going to do is that we are going to scour all of these rings, and that includes identifying the ones that are not identified. This is important. The reason for this is that we are then going to be applying catalysts onto these, because if we do hit something fantastic, then we want to make sure that we actually can get some value out of it. We're going to be using turbulent catalysts here. These will increase the magnitude of elemental damage modifiers upon these rings. And because we're doing them on scoured bases, we are going to only need to use 4 of them for each of the items that we're using, rather than the 20 you'd need if you are applying them to a rare or unique item. However, we absolutely must do this. Oh, oops, that was a bit of a waste. Let me go and rectify that. I forgot to scour this one like an idiot, and I should just check if I missed anything else while I'm at it. I'm also going to need to pick out a few more catalysts, which luckily I just happen to have by accident. Very important to pick that up at the time that the mistake happens, because if you don't pick it up when the mistake happens, then you'll end up potentially with a Call of the Brotherhood that is completely bricked. Anyways, let's get back to catalyzing all of these, and now we should have one catalyst left when we finished. That's going to be the indicator that we've catalyzed everything to 20% properly, because we want our Call of the Brotherhood to be a 48% one if it ends up being a hit. Now that we've done this, we want to corrupt these. Now, there are two different schools of thought you can take here. You can either just directly corrupt them with Val Orbs, or you can do something a little bit different and use the little used Bloodstained Fossil. We're going to be using Bloodstained Fossils just to be a little bit different here. That is going to overwrite the existing implicit on these 2-stone rings, and it is going to be replaced with a random Val implicit. This is sometimes better, sometimes worse than the default. However, you can't use a Resonator onto an item that is not already rare, and so we're just going to throw an Alchemy Orb on everything and just make sure that we don't hit any miracle drops while we're doing so. Very unlikely at this stage in the league that anything that you alch could be used by anyone, but it's still worth a check because sometimes you will just accidentally make something fantastic that you weren't intending to. Okay, so now we're going to throw out a whole bunch of Bloodstained Fossils, and then we're going to start applying these. These will corrupt the items and they will apply 1 Val implicit to them. This will also re-roll them, so that's 30% rarity. That would end up being a really good hit if we were to get that onto a Shaper Influence Call of the Brotherhood. Of course, the Mythic Orb is probably going to say no. It is probably either going to destroy the item, or alternately, it is probably going to end up turning it into a less desirable unique, because there is another Cold and Lightning unique that is more common than Call of the Brotherhood. Okay, so we're just going to go through all of these. Some of the implicits that you'll get here will be quite good. Zealotry effect is okay, Hatred effect is spectacular, Wrath effect is spectacular, Rarity is spectacular. All of these, if they were to end up hitting a really good Call of the Brotherhood, will end up being something fantastic. So we're hoping to see that, but we're probably not going to. We may well end up seeing a Call of the Brotherhood, but it's not likely to be on one of the best of the things that we've got here. Okay, we've got 5 more to get ready. And then after that, we'll drop out 5 more of these. Increases attack speed, probably not useful on Call of the Brotherhood. Grants Despair skill is definitely not useful. Zealotry is. Pride is definitely not useful on it. And then we'll drop out the last of these. I sometimes get asked this question, how am I doing this? I'm holding shift while I'm depositing them, and then that puts them out one by one. So if you're ever unsure about how that works, definitely ask away. And here we go with the last 10. Zealotry skill, not very useful. 14 Ores is better than the base implicit on these. 15 Ores, better than the base implicit. Grace effect is pretty marginal. Ores. Cannot be ignited would be really good to have. It's something that not everyone wants, but the people who want it, it's really good on. Hatred 18% is fantastic. And there we go. Now it's time for the Mythic Orbing. And 1. There's Beric Script. We're going to get a bunch of Beric Scripts. It's probably going to be 45%, maybe like 43% Beric Script, 7% Call of the Brotherhood, and 50% Destroyed is what you should expect here. But unfortunately, we did splat the best of the things that we had before. Okay, we got 1 Call of the Brotherhood, and it is a Zealotry one. So, we have burnt 250 Chaos worth of Shaper Influenced Rings. We've burnt 250 Chaos worth of Mythic Orbs, and we have burnt the Bloodstained Fossils, which were 4 Chaos each in bulk, so that's another 150 Chaos. 650 Chaos, all the catalysts cost me about 120, so 770 Chaos to make this. And I suppose I should update by saying that a few days after I had this on the market, the Call of the Brotherhood that had level 23 Zealotry implicit on it, that sold for, I believe it was 8 Divines, it may have been 9. I put it in a tab that I kept marking down until it sold, and as you might expect, absolutely none of the Beric's rings have sold. They're not ever going to sell. This is a really cheap way to get yourself a Shaper Influence Call of the Brotherhood, and unfortunately, Grant's level 23 Zealotry is not as good as the baseline implicit, whereas had this been instead one of the other implicits, it could have ended up being quite worthwhile. But you'll notice it's 48% lightning converted to cold, and that's because we used that elemental damage catalyst on it earlier. Anyways, that's all we got here. This is RNG crafting. We got a whole bunch of rubbish Beric scripts that no one is ever going to want, but that are going to look kind of cool. We got 10 of them out of our 25 attempts, but we got 1 of what we were looking for. May your Val Orbs, your Bloodstained Fossils, and your Mythic Orbs have interesting results.